Tomorrow, the war in Ukraine enters its 4th year. Thousands have perished in the conflict on both sides. The fighting has taken its toll on those covering the Russian invasion as well. A reality, Seth Doane explains, one reporter knows all too well.
He was in critical condition, but fortunate to be this far, loaded into a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter near the Ukrainian border.
This was the scene of a battle just a few days ago as the Russians tried to move forward.
Fox News correspondent Benjamin Hall was covering the war when his car was struck by Russian missiles. These are his cameraman's last images.
I reached for the door of the car and I managed to get one foot out of the door, and then the third bomb hit the car itself. And I was out for I'm not sure how long, but I woke up and I must have been about 15, 20 feet from the car. I was on fire.
It was March 14th, 2022. He and his crew had traveled to the frontline town of Horenka with 2 Ukrainian soldiers.
I started to sort of gather where I was and what had happened. I was confused because I had no trousers or shoes on. I didn't quite figure out that they'd burnt off, and my right foot had been largely blown off. And I can still sense what it was like. All the worries had gone. There was like one sole thing, survival. There was one thing, get home.
Just go ahead, keep moving.
He flagged down a car that drove him to a Ukrainian hospital.
That was the last I remember. I think I was just barely alive at that point.
When did you realize the extent of your injuries?
I didn't, for example, the left foot, I didn't really realize. But it was only later that I saw a picture that was taken in hospital, which just has a baseball-sized hole right through the middle of it. I mean, totally gone, but I didn't notice that. The leg obviously took most of my attention. I didn't know how badly I was burnt and had shrapnel in the eye, cut the eye in half. And I was unaware of that. I knew I was bleeding from the head, but I didn't know how much of my skull had been taken out, nor did I even know that the thumb had been pulled off. And it is an incredible place that your body goes to. You are in this, survival mode.
He was the only survivor. Longtime Fox News cameraman Pierre Zakchevsky and local producer Sasha Kushinova were killed. With no space in the car, they decided to go without Fox's own security.
You juggle a lot and adrenaline is pushing and you're up against deadlines. Were mistakes made?
No, I don't think so. We have a routine that we follow. We know where you're going and talk about it as a team, and that's what we did that day. Look, Pierre and Sasha are dead. Do I want to reverse it? Do I want to go back? Would I bring them back for absolutely anything? Of course I would. That will be with me forever.
Hall documents the dramatic and tragic events in his book, Saved, which details how Fox News helped get him on a train headed to the Polish border, where the U.S. military was waiting.
And I was taken off that train at the other end, and there was this Black Hawk, 82nd Airborne. I felt I was absolutely saved.
I'm gonna get his head.
The war correspondent, a dual UK and US citizen, began chronicling his own battle.
It's a long process, and the last few days have been quite hard. I've had an infection which they found, and an operation. 1, 2, 3, go.
His journey to recovery took him from Poland to Germany,
very careful, he's in a lot of pain,
to Brooke Army Medical Center in Texas, ever further from his wife Alicia Meller.
So what do we want to say, Daddy?
And their 3 daughters in London.
Get better, Daddy. Yes, get well. Yes, and get well. And be so brave. Chin up and get better soon.
Ready, steady, go.
When we met the family last year, they were getting ready to welcome a new baby and adjusting to a changed reality.
Were there times that you were preparing for the very worst with him?
The first night that I got the call, I actually thought he was probably going to die, to be honest. I think when this kind of a thing happens, you do expect like worst case scenario, and you can be prepared for death. But I was not prepared for this. I have no experience with amputees or amputations or just the amount of surgeries that are involved with someone who has a blast injury. I had no idea. Until you're challenged with something, I don't think you always understand what you're capable of. So I think maybe you surprised yourself with your capabilities.
He's undergone around 40 surgeries.
They woke me up at about 6 this morning out of the blue and said from nowhere, "You're having an eye op this morning."
and hundreds of hours of physical therapy.
Nice one.
Writing about that too in another book out next month on the power of resilience.
You suddenly are open to doing anything. And if a doctor comes in and says, we're putting leeches on that, we're going to take the thumb off, we're going to put your elbow onto it, bring it on. Whatever you've got to do to get me home, to get me walking, to get me back to my kids, I will do it and I won't complain about it.
He's embraced the challenge and even his new mismatched eye.
The only lens they had left was blue, and they said, we can go and find you a brown one. I said, give me the David Bowie look. I want it, you know? So, I love the eyes. And you know what? They're a conversation starter. And I love that.
Why do you want people to ask about the injuries?
You know, I don't think I had spent much time before the injuries to thinking about what it was like to be disabled. So I guess I want to do it to help others feel natural about it.
So Ben, we hear from our audience all the time. What's the update on Ben? How's life for him? How is he recovering?
This is my first day back at the London Bureau, and I'm a strong believer that if something knocks you down, you go away, you deal with it, and you keep coming back.
Reminders of the tragedy are ever present. Fox dedicated its London bureau to Zakchevsky after the deadly attack.
They need to run.
Sasha's parents are suing Fox News. They're claiming wrongful death in this lawsuit. They've named you, your book, as perpetuating a story that they believe is a false story of how close you were, whether you should have been that close.
Yeah. Look, I came home to my family, I came home to my children. They lost their daughter. But when it comes to my book, I sat down within a few days and I started jotting down what happened. I wanted people to read about what happened because I wanted to talk about Pierre and about Sasha and the amazing work they did and the war and what we were covering. And so the idea that the book is false in any sense isn't true in any bit.
How was it to have your memoir named in this lawsuit? The allegation being that HarperCollins is a subsidiary of the same parent company, that somehow Fox is getting its story out through you.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised, I suppose. I certainly didn't see it coming. Who do you think is going to win?
Me!
The ordeal has reordered his priorities, and family is more important than ever.
Do you think you've fully processed what happened?
Yeah, I have. Processing it doesn't mean that it's gone. Pierre and Sasha died. I don't want to totally process that. I always want to have that drive me. So I'm happy to hold those burdens. You know, I feel like they're part of me now.
How do you think about conflict reporting today?
Oh, more important than ever. I loved my career. I loved what I was doing. And I would take these injuries as a result of that. I would change it all to bring Pierre and Sasha back in a heartbeat. But I think it's the most important job in our field, to be honest. I think it's essential.